y'all. I just want to start by thanking each and every one of you for being here. What I'm about to share with you is a video of a speech that I gave at our women's retreat a little over a year ago. Sharing my story in that kind of way was a long time coming. God had been pursuing me for such a long time to really dive in and share my story and share how he has wove different things throughout my life that continued to lead me right back to him, even in those moments of darkness and brokenness and all the things when I just I couldn't even think straight. And so it's a very personal thing that I'm about to share with you all. But I feel like to move forward with the relaunch of the channel, it's important to kind of share the scope of the big picture story, just of my life and of the ways that God has continued to pursue me through the depths of my grief, and how I believe he can do that for you also. So if you found your way to my channel because you are in a season of grief, first, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're finding yourself in this place of needing to seek out help, but also welcome, because you're not alone here. And so I'm super nervous about sharing this so openly, because it is so very personal, but I am believing that God has a purpose in me sharing it, even if it's just for one person. So I'm just taking a step of faith here, and we're going to move forward with this. So I would encourage you to take a deep breath, maybe grab a tissue or just the whole box. And I'm just praying that you're gonna find God's voice whispering through my story being shared with you, and that somehow there's gonna be something there that's gonna make you feel drawn near to him. So let's get into the story. Through it. Hello, good morning. Just want to start by just saying how thankful I am for this group of ladies here with us this weekend. You guys have changed my life in so many different ways. I'm not going to talk enough about that today, but just know that each and every one of you carries such a special place in my heart. So bear with me, because those of you who've been around me enough know that I'm a crier in general, and so I'm probably going to do a lot of that. I'm going to try really hard to keep it in check. So I stand before you today blessed to share this journey, my journey, with you all this weekend. And my prayer as I've been preparing for this is that while my story isn't going to look like most of yours, and I'm so thankful that it isn't, that you will see the divine ways that God has walked with me through my story, and that you can also look back on your own stories, which is what I love about the story groups, is that we can look back on our stories and see all the ways that God has weaved through our journeys.
Have you ever considered the ways that God's pursued you? Well, I have. And reflecting on God's pursuit through my life, it all began when I was a little girl and a Sunday school bus driver arrived at my house. I got on that bus and attended church regularly. My earliest memories of church at all, or Jesus, was that my parents did take us to a small church in Berry Hill, and then I attended church with my mama in Texas, and my mama was just a huge part of my life. And she filled me with the love of hymns, like What a Friend We Have in Jesus, or It Is Well With My Soul, or this morning, Blessed Assurance. I wasn't expecting that one, and I think we've sung it this weekend. Psalms 126:5 reminds us that those who sow tears will reap with songs of joy, and I'm so thankful for those songs of joy. Singing hymns with my mama holds such a special place in my soul. Her unwavering faith, despite facing many challenges, trials, heart issue, breast cancer, instilled in me, and I can hear her voice say it, and there may be controversy over this saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. God won't give us more than we can handle. And I didn't know then as a little girl how much I would need to cling to that later in my life. James 1:3 reminds us that because you know the testing of your faith produces perseverance. During my adolescence, my mother, who had been a stay-at-home mom most of my life, took on the role of a nanny for 2 small families. Among these families were 3 children that she took care of, and one of them, Kirby, was around 2 years old. Kirby suffered from a rare genetic disease known as Hurler syndrome, and at the time we learned that that illness was terminal. There was no cure. I learned so much from the day-to-day caring of a special needs child. The endless doctor's appointments and therapies involved with that. Kirby, despite her condition, became like a little sister to me, bringing me immense joy with her constant smiles. Over the years, I watched as her parents faced many challenges. Ultimately, they were able to have 2 more children who thankfully did not inherit the same disease. And when Kirby passed away, a part of my heart went with her. Witnessing her parents, devout believers, navigating that loss was inspiring. They served as a remarkable example, firmly believing that Kirby's purpose was fulfilled during her brief time here. Her impact on numerous lives left me in awe, planting seeds of understanding about God's workings for my future, even though I couldn't grasp it at the time. The morning that my mama ascended to heaven, I was preparing to depart for Nazarene Youth Congress in Washington, D.C., July 7th, 1987, and I'm aging myself here. And my parents woke me up that morning to go get on the airplane, and told me that my mama had passed away. And I said, I can't do it, I can't go. And my papa got on the phone with me, and he said, your mama was so proud and so excited for this trip, you have to go. So, reluctantly, I got on that plane, and that week was full of sorrow, and yet amidst all that grief, there was a profound sense of joy and communion as together with thousands of other youth from all across the nation we worshiped. And I don't know if you've ever got to experience something like that, whether it's youth or a women's conference, but a room full of thousands of people just worshiping God is just, it's amazing. It was a revelation to me at the time, a glimpse into the possibility that joy and grief could intertwine and coexist harmoniously. Uh-oh. Oops. Sorry. Hannah. I need to go backwards. So sorry. Intermission. Want some popcorn? Serena, where's that popcorn? Sorry. Okay. Right here. Yeah. Okay. During my teenage years, I strayed from regular church attendance. Yet my faith remained steadfast despite distractions like jobs and, well, boys, mainly boys. I met my husband Scott during a summer job at Walmart. It was a prelude to our senior years, and from that chance encounter, a love story unfolded. 35 years have passed since that summer, where a conversation about faith and shared values marked the beginning of our journey. Our wedding day, July 6th, 1991, carried both joy and poignant touch. Coinciding with my grandparents' would-be 51st anniversary. A request to my papa to share that special day was met with a warm, of course, creating a day filled with significance. We were mere teenagers thinking we had life figured out, jobs in hand, we had it all figured out. The arrival of our firstborn, Brittany Renee, fondly known as Britterbug, brought a snowstorm of emotions. Born on February the 15th, 1993, amidst the hush of falling snow, she made a swift entrance into the world at 12:20 a.m. Small but perfect, she weighed 5 pounds, 8 ounces, measuring 18 inches. From arriving at the hospital dilated to only a 1, ladies, only a 1 at 10 o'clock, to her quick debut 2 hours later. I am a woman, hear me roar. Brittany added a new chapter to our story. Her presence made life wonderful with her pug nose and rosebud lips. As a mother, I embraced the role I had always envisioned. Life at that moment, it was truly fantastic. Brittany was a joyful baby. She reached developmental milestones with remarkable speed. She was walking at 9 months, speaking early, truly illuminating our lives. Like myself, Brittany was the first grandchild and was adored by all of her grandparents, but especially my papa. The two of them had a really special relationship. I always thought of Brittany as an old soul. She was tender and compassionate even at a very young age. When Brittany was just 2 years old, my papa was diagnosed with colon cancer. She spent a lot of time in his side. And when hospice was brought in, she had a chair right next to his bed in the living room of his tiny little home in Louisiana. She would run around and play and then hop up on that chair and put her hand on him and say, "You all right, Papa?" Then she would just go back to play. She would sit on his hospital bed as hospice nurses tend to wounds and changed his IV. She witnessed things about that illness that I couldn't. I had to leave the room. When my papa left this earth to join my mama in heaven on December 25th, 1995, and the day of his funeral while at the cemetery in the freezing cold, snowing, I took Brittany back to the car and had tears rolling down my cheeks. She put her little toddler hand on my shoulder. And she said, "Mama, it's okay. Papa's tummy's all better now." If we could all only have the faith and understanding that small children possess. I had a family friend who had sold me life insurance when I was just like 16 years old. And he had come to do a policy review with Scott and myself and urged us to secure a policy for Brittany. And I remember thinking, life insurance policy for my baby. But I was so grateful for that advice. Brittany's policy was issued just 2 weeks before she had her first seizure, which was a moment that changed everything. When Brittany was just 3 years old, a weekend at her grandparents took a terrifying turn. We met them at the lake on a peaceful Sunday afternoon. She suddenly went limp and entered into a trance. Panicking, I grabbed her and flagged down a park ranger who rushed us to the hospital. Unsure if she was even breathing, in that state of panic, all the details are blurred. We arrived at a small town hospital and they suggested that she may have had a seizure. Skeptically, I was like, we need to get to Tulsa because y'all don't know my kid doesn't have seizures. But after some testing, EEGs and other things, the doctor suspected that she did in fact have a seizure. And we believed she had epilepsy. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, this stinks, but it's manageable. We can manage epilepsy. However, as time passed and medications began, the seizures intensified and changed. Brittany, who was once a perfectly normal 3-year-old, began losing skills. She began having drop seizures, myoclonic seizures, absent seizures, grand mal seizures. The variety seemed endless. Medications offered little relief and often left her spaced out. The journey ahead proved more challenging than we had initially thought. In October of 1996, amid the mystery of Brittany's illness, I discovered I was pregnant again. Ladies, especially younger ones, if you're taking antibiotics and the birth control pill, you should be careful. Just saying. The uncertainty consumed us, making me apprehensive about navigating the challenges with Brittany and the arrival of a new baby. Throughout those 9 months, I grappled with fears of whether I could love another child and manage the complexities of caring for a baby alongside Brittany's situation. On June 6th, 1997, Hannah Nicole entered our lives. Little did I know at the time that she was a miraculous blessing from God. Brittany, despite her own struggles, embraced the role of big sister, showering love on Hannah from day one. In October 1997, we embarked on a journey with Brittany to Dallas Children's Hospital. We did more tests and began a unique diet, the ketogenic diet, aiming to wrestle control over her challenging epilepsy. After persistent advocacy, our neurologist had supported this unconventional approach. We immersed ourselves in learning the intricacies of administering that diet, measuring foods, and making sure that she remained in ketosis. Despite initial glimpses of improvement, however, the seizures resurged with greater intensity. And by the summer of 1998, Brittany faced profound regression. Unable to walk independently, she was back in diapers and struggling to even sit unassisted. Back at the hospital we went, delving into more tests, including a muscle tissue biopsy, hoping for answers. The results were elusive, displaying a mysterious crescent moon shape in the tissue that the lab labeled as an unidentified condition, leaving us in a state of uncertainty. Over that next year, Brittany's illness progressed, and I found myself immersed in a relentless quest for answers through prayers and desperate calls to God. I sought guidance. What do I do, God? Why is this happening? I explored every avenue from homeopathic healers to natural remedies, searching for any glimmer of hope. Late nights were spent scouring the internet, and the internet was not what it is today back then, just saying. Posting prayer requests on message boards and watching Richard and Lindsay Roberts' TV show in pursuit of a breakthrough. One night, I even took Brittany, all by myself, to a taping of their show, anticipating healing. I was certain we were going to get it. However, to my bewilderment, when it was time to come to the front to get said healing, no one put a hand on my ailing child. The hand was placed on me. Leaving that studio that night, flooding my mind with, why me? Why not my baby? Why didn't anybody touch her? And the search for meaning continued as I grappled with the unfolding journey of uncertainty and faith. In Matthew 11:28, he says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." In the spring of 1999, Brittany's health had regressed significantly. Amidst numerous medications, we were now in a feeding tube and a loss of most of her speech abilities. I will say she never lost the ability to say, "No, Hannah." Never. She never lost that, because Hannah liked to stand in between her and her Disney movies. She was not about that. We decided to do another hospital stint, withdraw her from all her medications, and explore additional avenues of testing. One evening during this challenging week, I had taken a break to go home and shower. I was sitting at the computer, and back then we had search engines, and it wasn't Google. And I typed in like this big long sentence of every symptom thing I could come up with to put in there. And that led me to a physician's journal page. How do you get to a physician's journal page? Oh God. That talked about neuronal ceroid lipofuscinosis, where in this article they talk about a specific detail of a crescent moon shape in a muscle tissue biopsy. And that caught my attention. It was a diagnostic marker. Realization struck me. This was what Brittany had, and the prognosis, terminal, no cure. The following morning, I approached the neurologist, questioning if any of the ongoing tests were considering neuronal ceroid lipofuscinosis. And to my surprise, he was stunned. He thought he was God. And as I recounted the article, it became evident to me that this could be the answer. Weeks later, the dreaded confirmation came from a rectal tissue biopsy. That doesn't sound pleasant. Neuronal ceroid lipofuscinosis, specifically Jansky-Bilchowski disease, CLN2. Late infantile Batten's disease. Batten's disease, or NCL, is a family of rare diseases caused by an autosomal recessive genetic mutation resulting in the body. My husband and I were both carriers of this disease and had no idea. The genetic mutation disrupts the cell's ability to dispose of waste. I realized I was about to use this as Cells are thrown out of balance with buildup of proteins and lipids, and there are 13 different forms of Batten's disease. And they refer to them as CLNs 1 through 14. It's estimated that 2 to 4 births per 100,000 in the U.S. are affected by Batten's disease. The neurologist called me with the news, and he asked me to come to his office. He would like to talk to me. We had a contentious relationship, me and the neurologist. And I told him I did not need to come sit in his office, and asked him to just share with me the information. And he confirmed that Brittany did indeed have Batten's disease, and he offered to send us anywhere in the world that we wanted to go. Well, I'd already done enough research. I knew there was nothing to be done, and so I just requested from him to make sure that we did everything possible, that for whatever time God allowed her to be with us, she would be comfortable. In the enchanting world of Brittany, affectionately known as Bitterbud, the vibrant hues of Barney the purple dinosaur and the magical allure of all things Disney were cherished companions. Together, we embarked on countless adventures in the realm of the Goofy movie. Even as her speech slipped away, the joy woven into those movies and melodies never deserted her. Her spirit remained a symphony of smiles and happiness. In the early days of August 1999, we had arranged a photo shoot, capturing precious moments with both my daughters and my mom. I attended a Batten's disease conference in Nashville, where I was brought face to face with other families grappling with this devastating illness. DNA blood tests were performed on both Brittany and Hannah and sent to a lab in the Northeast somewhere, slowly unraveling this enigma of Batten's disease that had cast an ominous shadow on our lives. At only 2 years old, Hannah's future was unknown, visible of any symptoms at that time. On the evening of August the 18th, amid shared laughter with friends, Brittany laying on a couch, staring at the wall, laughing. And we're like, what is she doing? Little did I know that this was a poignant prelude to her impending transformation. As the night unfolded, Brittany peacefully slipped into eternal slumber. Leaving behind a world forever transformed on August the 19th, 1999. In the wake of our profound loss, a tapestry of support had unfurled from friends and family, cradling us through the storm. The very church where Brittany had once found solace and Mother's Day out embraced us. They sent their pastor to sit by our side and extended grace in their space for her farewell. It was divine intervention that drew us into the folds of their community where Hannah and I found solace. And I became baptized, finding a new anchor for our journey forward. At the time that Brittany passed away, we didn't know if Hannah had Batten's disease or not. We hadn't received those test results yet. About 6 to 8 weeks after losing Brittany, those results finally came in and confirmed the type of Batten's disease that Brittany had, and that our Hannah did not have Batten's disease and wasn't even a carrier. She is truly our little miracle. I never harbored true anger towards God. Even amidst the profound pain of losing Brittany, I always sensed a purpose in that agony. Although never fully inclined to relinquish it, holding on to it like protective armor. Though laden with questions, why me? Why my daughter? What did I do to deserve this suffering? I also grasped the why not me reality in our fractured world. Grateful for the promise of eternal hope in our one true God, I found solace in 1 Peter 4:19. So if you are suffering in a manner that pleases God, keep on doing what is right. Trust your lives to the God who created you, for he will never fail you. Over the years, I had become a church visitor, showing up when I was invited. I allowed my grief to fill me with excuses for not being in 100%. People in the church won't understand my grief loss. People in the church will look at me when I cry openly every week, for the hurt is so deep. People in the church think I am weak. People in the church don't think that I'm praying hard enough. People in the church think I can't just let go and let God. As you can see, these excuses all revolve around my own perspective of what I think other people think about my grief journey, and truly have nothing to do whatsoever with me and my relationship with God the Father. In the haze of grief after losing Brittany, the first year became a blur. Returning to work after almost 3 years, I found solace in a Christian office. Thank you, Dawn. And they provided me with unwavering support. It was around the 2-year mark that I hit a mental low, contemplating driving my car right off the road, or any other kind of thing that I could figure out to do, maybe. One day, exhausted and overwhelmed, tears streaming down my face, I called my husband from my car in the work parking lot, and that marked the beginning to seek counseling and medical help. A psychiatrist diagnosed me as bipolar. But in hindsight, I realized they just struggled to comprehend a grieving mom. They didn't get it. My boss, sensing my struggle, offered a poignant choice: dwell in the darkness or choose joy. It's your choice every day. So a profound decision unfolded that day. I chose that day to work on finding my joy again. One scripture from the Bible that addresses the interplay of grief and joy is found in the book of Psalms, Psalm 35. For his anger lasts only a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. This verse acknowledges the transient nature of sorrow, comparing it to a night that eventually does give way to the morning light of joy. It conveys the idea that even in the depths of grief, there's hope for a renewed sense of happiness and solace. Additionally, Ecclesiastes 3:4 reflects on the different seasons of life: a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. This scripture highlights the inevitability of both sorrow and joy in the human experience, emphasizing the cyclical nature of our emotions. These verses offer me comfort and assurance, suggesting that grief is not a permanent state and that in time, joy can emerge from the depths of my sorrow. They speak to the resilience of the human spirit and the comforting presence of a higher power in times of trial. Yet, even in the midst of deep sorrow, joy persists. It may be a faint glimmer at first, obscured by shadows of despair, but it is there, waiting to be embraced. Joy is not the absence of pain, but rather the presence of hope. A beacon of light that guides us through the darkness. It's found in the kindness of a friend, the warmth of a sunrise, or the gentle embrace of a loved one. Joy reminds us that even in our darkest hour, there's still goodness to be found if only we have the eyes to see it and the hearts to receive it. In the aftermath of my loss, my life journey unfolded, a rich tapestry woven with threads of raising Hannah and being a devoted wife to Scott. Grief was a constant companion, and it found its place in our home, and instead of concealing it, I chose to embrace the echoes of Brittany's memory. As time ambled and sprinted simultaneously, my dedication remained unwavering, and my mission was clear: to ensure that Hannah's life became a tapestry of joy, shielded from the looming shadows of her departed sister. I never wanted her to feel like she was living in the shadow of something. The persistent echoes of grief lingered, a silent yet ever-present companion in our daily existence. However, amid those shadows, life endured, and unexpected moments revealed the resilience that emerged from within. Our family thrived on togetherness. Scott, Hannah, and I found solace in hours spent camping, fishing, and cheering for Hannah on a softball field. From the tender age of 4, Hannah's softball journey began, and Brittany was an ever-present spirit in our adventures. We carried her memory with us, finding joy in the subtle ways she manifested, whether it be a song, a ladybug on a pant leg, or her name appearing on a Coke bottle at a pivotal softball game concession stand. Our home fostered an environment where we acknowledged the profound loss of Brittany, yet we sought to instill in Hannah the remarkable strength that arises from placing our trust in Jesus. We endeavored to exemplify true resilience in the face of grief, teaching Hannah that even in the darkest moments, there is a source of enduring light. Through shared laughter, tears, and the unwavering bond of family, we aim to navigate the delicate balance between honoring the past and embracing the precious moments of the present. In 2010, an unexpected door swung open. Sorry, my leg feels like it's going to give out on me. An unexpected door swung open, guided by the hand of God, bringing Amber into our lives. At the age of 15, Amber's untold story seems Seamlessly woven to ours was a divine union orchestrated by a higher power. It all began when my best friend's daughter spent a weekend with us, and during that time asked if we could pick up a friend of hers who had no place to stay. Without hesitation, I agreed, and little did I know that Amber would effortlessly integrate into our lives. Amber and Hannah forged a deep friendship, and in moments of vulnerability, it became evident that she had found haven with us. As time passed, the realization dawned on us that Amber wasn't just a guest. She was a missing piece that completed our family puzzle. Recognizing this, we extended an invitation, welcoming her into our home as a cherished member of our close-knit unit. It was a beautiful chapter written by the divine hand, revealing that sometimes unexpected openings can lead to extraordinary connections, and Amber had found her place in the tapestry of our lives. Hours melted away on the softball field with Hannah, which was my sanctuary. As time whisked us to the milestones of their graduations, Amber in 2014, Hannah in 2016, each girl embarked on their own distinct paths. As an adult now, Amber ventured into independence, and Hannah pursued college for softball, which left Spot and I in an empty home. As that emptiness settled around us, the quiet of our once bustling home echoed with a resurgence of grief over the loss of Brittany. The rooms, once filled with laughter and footsteps, carried a profound emptiness that seemed to amplify the void left in my heart. Each creak of the floorboards, every unoccupied space bore the weight of memories that stirred the pain anew. The solitude of the emptiness seemed to magnify the haunting nature of loss. In this renewed stillness, we found ourselves grappling with waves of sorrow that surged again, unexpectedly, a poignant reminder that the passage of time does not heal all the wounds of the heart. Amber met a young man at OSUIT and followed him across the state. We quickly grew very fond of Brad, appreciating his steadiness that he brought into Amber's life, and they began planning a wedding. Simultaneously, Hannah fell in love with Kobe at Rose State. And as we were preparing for Amber's wedding, Hannah and Kobe came to us and said, "We want to get married too. This summer." Oh, really? Really? And it's okay, we'll go to the Justice of the Peace. No, we won't. So in July 2017, within a week of one another, Amber and Hannah exchanged vows. It was a whirlwind of events, yet undeniably it was orchestrated by the hand of God in every intricate detail. Every detail. On August 28, 2018, Amber and Brad bestowed upon our family the gift of our first grandchild, a precious little girl named Braden Dawn. And the journey into grandparenthood, get ready, Jen, it's coming. Following the heart-wrenching loss of a child, it unfolded in a profound experience. It intertwined with the bittersweet symphony of emotions, the joy of witnessing a new life, the hope carried with it, and the chance to nurture a fresh generation, all weaving a tapestry of healing and renewal. In the echoes of laughter and innocence emanating from the grandchildren, the love that once faced sorrow finds a way to endure. The pain of the past never forgotten, but the arrival of each new generation brings forth a unique and precious form of happiness, breathing life into a family that has weathered the storm of loss. Amber and Brad expanded our family together with the arrival of our grandson, Becca Miklos, on January 22nd, 2020. And on December the 31st of 2020, we received the news that Hannah and Kobe were expecting. September 10th, 2021, we welcomed Kari into our lives. Hannah and Kobe had begun attending Life Church, and they had convinced me to join them, reigniting my connection to the church community. Initially, I held the belief that my relationship with God didn't really need a church building. It needed a physical structure for that. However, being back in the church was a profound realization of the power of collective worship. Sensing the divine spirit weaving its way through the congregation, I felt a stirring in my soul during those moments of shared reverence. The newfound passion for God's word took me on an unexpected journey. Plunging headlong, I immersed myself into Bible recap, where I completed the chronological exploration of the Bible in a mere 6 months. From bedtime stories to car rides, scriptures constantly became a source of excitement, unveiling mysteries I had never grasped before. Attending the last Tulsa Hills Women's Retreat just 2 years ago with Dawn was a deeply joyful experience. Throughout that transformative weekend, I was gently reminded of my divine creation, my selection, and anointment by God. It was a beautiful time of spiritual growth and reflection. And in some quiet time one morning, the verse 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10, was highlighted for me. But he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties, for when I am weak, then I am strong." This was a gentle reminder to me that we must give ourselves permission to grieve, to mourn the losses that shape us, and to honor the memories that sustain us. We must allow ourselves to feel the depth of our sorrow without fear or shame, knowing that it is through the tears that healing begins. Departing from that retreat, I felt a stirring within me, a sense that God was beginning to equip me with the strength to share my story in ways that were beyond my current comprehension. As my hunger for spiritual understanding deepened, a compelling urge prompted me to lay bare my fears and struggles. In seeking connection, I gravitated towards a small group of kindred spirits, women marked by the shared brokenness. The group was embarking on a session centered around healing, which was a subject that resonated with my own struggles after losing Brittany. While I clung to the belief in the possibility of divine healing, doubts lingered. The initial meeting on healing stirred a storm within me as the speakers expounded their convictions and referenced scriptures. My head began to pound, my heart raced, and something in my spirit was screaming, leaving me very unsettled. That evening took a very unexpected turn when the assertion of understanding and believing in our pre-existing healing could alter life's outcomes. That somehow, if I had known what these women knew, I could have maybe changed Brittany's outcome. That notion that sickness stemmed only from Satan and that only good gifts emanated from God left me absolutely bewildered. Exiting that meeting that night, confusion gripped me and I questioned my entire understanding of God. The journey I thought I was leading to spiritual growth had unexpectedly thrust me into a realm of absolute uncertainty and pain. And in my car ride home that night, I cried out to God, "Do I even know who you are?" And yet a still sweet voice near my heart with a "You know me, you are my daughter." In the weeks that followed, I wrestled with the conflicting truths, desperately seeking clarity amid the chaos of conflicting doctrines. And in the weeks and months following this event, I diligently sought God's guidance through prayer. While participating in a Bible study with you all, I felt a compelling urge to change churches. This decision was very challenging, given that I was living out a dream, sharing a pew at church with my daughter. However, I genuinely believe that Life Church had served its purpose for a season, allowing me to learn and grow in my faith. It became clear to me that it was time to follow where God was leading me. past year, my spiritual journey has continued to evolve with a focus on heeding God's promptings. I feel a calling to share my story and honor Brittany by walking alongside others in their grief. And for many years, I believed that my grief was uniquely significant. But God has revealed to me that He intends to use that profound grief to assist others in their own journeys. This realization led me to participate in a 13-week grief share program last fall, and I am currently pursuing training to become a grief share facilitator. Upon completion of that training, my hope and prayer is to initiate a grief share program here in our church. This past February 1st marked the completion of Hannah and Kobe's family with the arrival of Riggs Allen. In God's divine plan, Riggs became the catalyst for transforming the landscape of February. From a season of dreading Brittany's upcoming birthday on the 15th, to a season of rejoicing and thankfulness for the abundant blessings that emerged from the profound pain of Brittany's loss. In January, Christy had approached me with an invitation to share my story with you all this weekend. A calling that I sensed was ordained, but little did I know that that decision would lead me into a battlefield of spiritual warfare. On January the 30th, we mourned the loss of a sweet friend, Joyce Smith. She was a stalwart prayer warrior who had lived a vibrant life, reaching the remarkable age of 90. At her service, we discovered that she had been a devoted member of her church since 1957. 1957, a testament to her unwavering faith and commitment to prayer. And just weeks later, on March 11th, tragedy struck again as Joyce's daughter and my dear friend Diana Shashelsky passed away unexpectedly from complications with the flu and pneumonia. Diana, like her mother, was a fierce prayer warrior, and her sudden departure left me reeling. The Shashelsky family had been a source of strength for me during the darkest days of my grief journey after losing Brittany, and the pain of their loss felt unbearable, compounded by the responsibility of creating memorial tributes for both of their services. As we gathered to celebrate Diana's life on March the 15th, amidst the haze of confusion and heartbreak, a sense of peace washed over me. But that respite was short-lived. On March the 18th, tragedy struck once more as my cousin and best friend Amy delivered devastating news that her 13-year-old niece, my little cousin, had unexpectedly passed away. Amidst overwhelming grief for my cousin and his wife, I found myself offering solace and insights that only God's grace could provide, answering questions for them that only a grieving parent could answer. And despite the anguish that had shadowed me for years, Amy looked at me and said, "I see the peace that God has cultivated within you, and how He has prepared you to be a vessel of comfort and strength in moments like this." Many times, the weight of this calling to walk alongside others in grief feels very overwhelming, and I find myself wanting to flee. Yet I am continually reminded of the words in Galatians. So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. These words sustained me, urging me to persevere in doing good, knowing that a bountiful harvest of blessings awaits in due time if I just remain steadfast. Through the depths of my grief journey, I've glimpsed into the profound mysteries of life and death, moments I often wish I hadn't known. Yet standing before each day, I can declare with conviction, it is well with my soul. I hold on to the fact that by Jesus' death and resurrection, we are guaranteed this promise in Revelation 21:4. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or sorrow or crying or pain. All of these things are gone forever. Throughout the highs and the lows, I have felt God's pursuit of my life, guiding me through life's intricate tapestries. And I look forward to the day that I get to stand in glory, when I get to experience the reality of a joy no longer laced with grief, but only the desire to bow down and sing with the angels, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty." I want to share with you guys my story road. Well, I really just want to share with you the end of it. The night that we met to kind of start on these and just share our stories and fears and things as a group preparing, I found this little piece of lace. I don't know if you guys can really see. A little piece of lace with these little beads, and I just started weaving them in and out, thinking about all the ways that God just continues to weave in and out of my life, in and out of my story, and how He does that with each of us. I'm just so thankful for that. I wanted to say that if anybody would be interested in helping come alongside me in starting a grief share program at the church, Jim and Christy have been amazing as I've kind of walked through this. But just get with me if that's something you think that you would be interested in helping with. And also, I have put together a small video to share